Hey everybody, this is Jeremy Tiers from Tutor Collegiate Strategies, and you're about to check out the latest episode of the Mission Admissions Podcast, a show that's designed to help higher ed become better recruiters, communicators, marketers, and managers. Each week, I'll introduce you to an industry leader or difference maker who will share helpful advice, tips, and strategies that will help you grow professionally and personally. Mission Admissions is part of the Enrollify podcast network and is made possible by Gecko, an engagement platform that makes it easy for your team to deliver a better student experience. I'm excited to share my latest candid conversations, so let's get started. Hey everybody, it's Jeremy Tiers, and this is episode 10 of the Mission Admission podcast. We finally hit double digits, and I want to start by saying a quick thank you to everyone listening. Your support means a ton to me. Almost all of my guests this season have been leaders and difference makers who work in industries outside of higher ed, which is something I've done very intentionally, with the hope that those of you who listen can see you can get all kinds of helpful tips and advice and ideas from people in other industries. Today we're flipping the script a little like I did in episode 5 with Megan Tyler from Wofford College, and I think you're really going to enjoy the conversation I'm about to have with Allison Tercio, the Assistant Vice President for Enrollment and Marketing at Siena College in upstate New York. Whenever I get asked what the best of the best in higher ed are doing differently, Allison is one of the first people that often come to mind. She truly is an elite performer and difference maker in my opinion. And I've had the pleasure of collaborating with her over the years on things like staff training, different communication projects, and we've actually done a couple conference presentations together as well. So welcome to the show, Allison.
Hi, Jeremy. Hi, everyone.
So I want to dive right in because I have so much that I want to ask you about today and pick your brain on. What are you thinking about for the last part of 2022 in terms of things you're wanting to either start doing that you haven't been doing or do differently, do more of, do less of?
The big thing on my mind is a really exciting project coming out of our strategic plan. One of the things I'm tasked with is to create a student-centered marketing plan. And so it's really flipping the script, right? Because if I look at our marketing plan, the last time we did it during our last strategic plan, it's really institutional centric. It's what do we want to say? Who do we want to reach? And so we're flipping it on its head, and everything's going to be driven by what students are looking for and how students want to be communicated with. So we're really flipping it. And even more exciting is I have 14, I believe, colleagues working on it with me. I'm pulling in financial aid, I'm pulling in enrollment managers, I'm pulling in admissions, marketing team, communications team, because we all work with students. We all work on front lines with them. And the more that we can stay connected to prospective students, the better. So normally it would be the marketing team who goes off and makes a marketing plan, right? But we're bringing in the whole crew. I actually have some student interns who are working on it with us too. So that's my big exciting project that we're tackling this fall.
How does that come about? Because I'm sure a ton of people listening would be like, Allison, this would be great, but like I can't even get 2 or 3 other people who I would argue need to be all in the same room talking together all at once. So just walk us through, how does that all come about?
Well, part of it is that we already have those relationships with the communications team and the admissions team, and we work at them every single day because, everything they do is marketing, and everything we do affects admissions and affects communications at the college. So we work at those relationships at a personal level, not just a colleague level. And I think that's why when I go and I put the word out and I say, hey guys, who wants to be in on this? People want to collaborate. So you have to create that culture of that people desire to work together towards this end goal.
And I would argue that culture had to start somewhere. And so, whatever you're comfortable sharing, where did that culture or when did that culture start at Siena? How did that culture start at Siena?
Well, Indiana is a Franciscan college, and that's really at the core of Franciscan values is being in relationship with one another. So I think in our mission and our history, they lay the playing field for it. In enrollment and marketing in our division, I think Ned, who's our vice president, this is the way he leads. And so we develop personal relationships with each other. We cross collaborate frequently on projects. His leadership team consists of all the different areas. It's not just admissions or not just financial aid. So we're sort of trained to work together. And I think it's just something that we work at, though. It's not something that you can take for granted. You have to really work at the team culture and develop that desire to work with one another.
Yeah, intentionality is so important. I feel like
Yeah.
I find myself talking about that not just when it comes to collaborating with other offices, but even if you're listening and you're like, but I'm in a position of an admissions counselor, an associate director, I'm not at Allison's level, what am I supposed to do? It's still be intentional, right? About trying to spend time with people in those different departments that ultimately are going to allow you to do
Yeah.
your job to the best of your ability.
You're vice president of whatever you're in charge of. So
Absolutely.
you can create collaborative relationships with whatever you're in charge of. So if you're an admissions counselor, you are vice president of regional recruiting in New England, say. That you are vice president of that. So within what's your realm, within what's your control, whether you're seeing it happen across your organization or not, what's in your purview where you can develop those relationships and where you can tag other people to help you on projects.
Yeah, it's such an important mindset, and that's what it comes down to. I think at the end of the day, it's just saying you're in control of your own world,
Yep.
even if you're not in control of all these other things that might affect your world. How would you define the state of enrollment marketing in 2022? Because I know you've got lots of thoughts on this.
Scattered. I think enrollment marketing is all over the place. There's just so many levels of it happening. When I go and I'm on social media and I'm seeing ads, colleges run ads and they're just use the words that they're using. I'm like, are these words that you think prospective students and families are using in connection with college? But then I'll see some people just kicking butt, and they're just really resonating with their audience and doing amazing. So I think it runs the gamut, and I think the colleges that have that leadership support is really where it happens. When I see a message that I feel like doesn't fit with who they're trying to reach, I don't think it's the marketers. I think that there's someone who's pushing them to write in a certain way and present a college in a certain way, and that's a really tough position to be in. So I think we're scattered. I think that we are to be commended for the work that we're doing because we're always pushing the envelope. I see you all out there doing it, and I commend you for it, and keep doing it because we need to keep raising the bar for ourselves as an industry.
Yeah. It's so important, as Allison said. I mean, just back to again, being intentional, controlling your world, just doing everything you can to try to obviously move forward. And if you have leadership support, even better, but really showing leadership. And I know you do a lot of this, so let's talk about it for a sec. In those staff meetings, if we want to call it that, right, that you all have multiple times a month, correct me if I'm wrong, you're sitting in there and you're analyzing data in real time. How do you get anybody in a position of leadership or otherwise to say, all right, you want me to do something different, you want us to do something different, like why are we doing this differently? How do you explain that to somebody, and how do you take data as a way to support your argument?
Well, I think because we're already believers in data, it's a harder question for me to answer because when you see apps are down in this place, okay, let's unpack it together. There's no quick answer, there's no silver bullets anywhere, right? So let's unpack that together. We know it's an issue. What's going on? What are we seeing in the marketing data? What are we hearing in the field from the admissions counselors? What are the financial aid counselors hearing from those families? What are the questions they're getting? It's the 360 view that you need all the voices on to be able to make the right decision to move forward, right? So I think it's valuing the different perspectives that everybody brings to the table in order to make the best decision.
Define student centered for me.
To me, because I'm a writer first, it's about language, and it's about speaking to the students in a way that invokes emotion, that inspires, that connects, that engages. Really, it's more than moving them to action. It's more than getting them to sign up for something or getting them to apply. It's getting them to feel something. And so to do that, you really have to put yourself in their shoes and understand them and talk to them all of the time, because what resonates will change. So I just think that I think attending to them, putting them first, thinking through your decisions from their perspective, those are the schools that'll win.
I don't think I've met a single higher ed professional that loved everything about their technology stack. Here's the honest truth. No CRM or SIS will be able to meet all of the needs of all of your team. And that's why I'm a huge fan of Gecko, a student engagement platform that offers customizable modules designed to complement your institution's CRM and SIS. Gecko offers plug-and-play modules that enable your team to deliver memorable student experiences at scale. Their chatbot and texting tools will empower your admissions team to engage with the highest quality prospects by serving as a front line of defense for prospects that have basic questions about the college admissions process. Gecko's event module makes it easy to create awesome online and in-person event experiences one time and then duplicate them throughout the year with just a couple of clicks. Their call center is also an industry leader. No more splitting call lists into a dozen Excel files, scrolling through data to find who you need to call next, or having to manually record who picked up and who didn't. Oh, and did I mention that everything integrates seamlessly into your CRM and SIS? Because it does. So if you're a Slate school, for example, you'll see all of that sweet interaction data in your student's timeline. If you want to level up how you engage with prospective students, but you don't want to disrupt your processes, rip out all your tech, or start a new CRM procurement process, you need to check Gecko out. You can learn more about their offerings at geckoengage.com/Enrollify. And be sure to tell them that Jeremy and the Enrollify team sent you their way. And I would argue what you just described is what I would call actual personalization. And I feel like when I have conversations, Allison, with so many people from admissions counselors who are brand new all the way up through VPs, it's, Jeremy, we need to do more personalization. I'm like, great. Define for me what personalization means to you. And oftentimes, right, nobody can do it. They know it's not, well, I get rid of dear at the start of an email and I put hi, or I put their name in the subject line, or everybody does that. And while some of you may think of that as personalization, I would argue it's more about what Allison just said, which is how do you, through words you use, through pictures, through videos, right, evoke some level of emotion, and then also find ways to get these students to talk to you about the emotions that you're creating and that other people aren't creating, and how they're feeling when they go through this college search process. I think you guys have done an amazing job with personalization. So, what are a few things? Again, I'm not asking you to give away all the trade secrets, but like you do a lot of obviously emailing, texting, social. Your understanding of just all of them, I think, is better than most. So, what are some key things that really you have found work well when it comes to personalizing all those different forms?
Well, we think of it as personal versus personalized, and here's why. Because, yes, personalized to many people is a mail merge. That's what you just said. You put their name in, you mention their high school, maybe you mention their major, but like mail merges have been around since like Word started. Everyone, there's nothing special about a mail merge. No one feels special by that. That's we all experience that all the time, right? So let's just that's bare minimum. Let's just put that out there. So, how do you make something feel personal? Well, if it's an email, you make it feel like it was written only for them, or it's written in a way that it asks them a question that makes them feel that you care about learning more about them in a really personal way, right? So, as an example, how do you do this in bulk? You can't email every single student that applies to you with a specific question about something you see on their app. well, but you can to targeted ones because you know who your best prospects in that pool are. So those ones, you take those out of the bulk email and you better be talking to them one on one and finding something really unique about their experience and you talk to them about that and put that experience or that thing that they do right in the subject line. But to do it to a larger audience, say they just applied to the college, their application just became complete. We send out a message that says, I have all of your materials. This comes from the regional admissions counselor, who is the one who will accept them or not, do the first round review. I see that all of your materials in, you're complete. Is there anything else you want me to know about you? Because this is just numbers. This is surface stuff. Is there anything I need to know about you before I go look at all of your application materials and decide on merit scholarship amounts? That's personal, right? That doesn't, even though it's a generic email and it goes to a lot of students, it still feels personal and it makes them feel like you care about knowing them personally. And we do. That is information that we value in the admissions process. So you have to value it before you go and do it, or else you're just fake.
I agree, and you know how I feel about this. I want to understand from your point of view then, why do so many people, not just enrollment marketers, but admissions leaders and sometimes even just admissions counselors, struggle with what you just said because they were like, wait a sec, Allison, you're talking way too much on their level, using words that maybe aren't as professional as they should sound. And my argument always is, no, you're actually more relatable and believable, which is what your target audience needs you to be. But like, talk to me about how do you, if you were giving advice to somebody, right? Because you and I are on the same page with that. How do you get them past this idea of it's not wrong to do that? It's actually exactly what you need to do if you want it to feel more personal.
I promise no one ever has written back to us and said, this sounds so unprofessional. So I'll tell you all that right off the bat. And we've sent hundreds of thousands of messages like this out. And not one person has said, I can't believe how unprofessional Siena College is. Listen, we all have amazing things to say about our schools, right? Every single one of you have amazing students, amazing faculty. No one can hear us if we're not speaking in their language, though. So it's about being heard. Everybody wants to elevate the story of their school. So you want to be heard, you have to speak in their language. When they don't hear you and they're ignoring your emails, I always think to myself, if they're not opening these emails, they're not doing what they want to. It's not that they're doing something wrong. We're doing something wrong. We're not getting through. They're not listening to us. But it's on us, not them. When a lot of people might brush it off as teenagers, they're just not paying attention. They're on Netflix, so they don't care. Yeah, that's a reality, but we still have to make our message be heard. And how do you make your message be heard if you're not using their language and you're using all this higher ed speak and not feeling relatable to them?
And you and I have talked over the years, right, about the importance of making different communications that a college would send way less promotional, if we want to call it that, and way more about building, or creating an opportunity for a relationship. Explain your point of view. Why is that so important? And just what are some ways Siena continues to do that you found work quite well?
Well, building relationships is important because it's who we are, to be honest. It's what we value at the college. So we try to put it into our marketing and our admission strategy. You know, a lot of colleges, we're a Catholic Franciscan college, so a lot of schools like us, I know you're all out there, liberal arts, small, maybe religiously affiliated, you really struggle because everyone wants you to fulfill the mission, right? The best way to fulfill the mission of the college is to be it. So we show everybody what it means to be Franciscan by building these relationships and having this at the core of our marketing and admission strategies. We That's the best way to show people what the experience is going to be like is by actually doing it and not just talking about it. It's not just these fluff words that you're throwing out to them. You're actually showing them what it's like to be there. So I think because it matches who we are, that's why it's so important. That's what we're all about.
I know you've revamped your communications over the years, and so you've done
All the
audits.
time, you mean? Never stop.
Absolutely. And to that point, right? An audit, of yourself, your communications, your department, if you're a leader, your
Hmm.
staff, it should be ongoing, right? It should never
Yeah.
stop. Have you always had that mindset in terms of, you've been in your role now for a number of years? Was that something that you brought in with you, or was that something that you developed in terms of just that ongoing process and not saying like this is a once or twice a year thing?
That's funny. I'm not sure if it came from me, if it was trained into me by being in this culture at Siena. I don't even know which is which anymore. But we do have that mentality of everything, we look at everything anew. Everything we're trying to think about the student mindset. There is not anything that gets sent out ever that's just a reset. Like we sent that last year, send that again. We did this on this date, so pass it out again. Never. We just don't.
What does your president have to say about all of this? Just totally hands off, or how is senior leadership above, even in your case, Ned, who's your VP, like how does that all factor into this? Or is it, Jeremy, that person's singing the same tune that the rest of us are singing, which is why this continues to be so easy, so to speak?
Our president just doesn't get into those kinds of details with us. He trusts us, he gives us that support and lets us run. I mean, and it means the world to have the president's backing in the way that we do. And we report to the provost, and she's amazing. She's the same way. We get wonderful support from her, and we're performing. So perhaps it's easy for them to do that. And if we weren't, they'd have to take a different stance with us. But I think that's one of the reasons that we're performing is because we question everything. It doesn't matter what worked last year, what didn't work last year. You have to relook at everything. You have to reanalyze everything. You always have to look at the data. You can't just take for granted because something worked before, it's going to work again.
And to your point, I think you answered my next question, which I just love about you, right? Which is, I know Siena has the largest four classes on their campus right now. In the time that you've been there, correct me if I'm wrong. Obviously, you've been performing. How do you keep performing? And to your point, I think it's you keep analyzing. But anything you would add to that?
Well, I just hate to lose. I hate to lose. I'm not, so we're always we're always trying. I think we all have a bit of a competitive spirit too with us, but we believe in Siena. That's part of it too. I mean, we are true believers. We are proud of the college that we're working at, which makes it easy to be hungry to keep doing this for the college and keep bringing students here because we believe in the experience that they're going to have and what they're going to go do in the world after. So I think we're true believers, and that's a big piece of this.
What motivates you every day when you get up?
Besides my kids and setting a great example for them, my team. I mean, I want to be here for my team. I want to be present for my team. I want us to do the best we possibly can. That's what I get to get up and get to work with amazing people here at Siena and especially in enrollment and marketing and my own team that works with me on the marketing specifically. I get out of bed and I'm happy to come to work on Mondays. I'm happy to come to work every day. And I think if you don't feel that way about higher ed, it's not going to be a good match for you. But I get out and I am like looking forward to seeing the faces that I'm going to see in the office when I come in. They're the best. I can't imagine a better team to be working with.
What's the hardest part of your job then?
The hardest part of marketing is that everybody has an opinion. And so that, but they should. Whenever we see any, I have opinions too. When I see stuff in my feed and I see stuff on TV, of course I have an opinion. I have a reaction, as you should. The hardest part about marketing is being able to filter those opinions and take what feedback is important and valuable and take what feedback is valid but maybe not impactful for your audience. So I really think being able to manage all of those perceptions and all of those opinions coming in because marketing is visible. So everybody has an opinion about what marketing should be doing, how it should be looking, what it should be saying, and I think managing those expectations and those perceptions are really difficult sometimes in this position.
Hey, all, Zach here from Enrollify. If you like this podcast, chances are you'll like other Enrollify shows too. Our podcast network is growing by the month, and we've got a plethora of marketing, admissions, and higher ed technology shows that are jam-packed with stories, ideas, and frameworks that are all designed to empower you to become a better higher ed professional. Our shows feature a selection of the industry's best as your hosts. Learn from Mickey Baines, Jaime Jaime Hunt, Corynn Myers, Jaime Gleason, and many, many more. You can learn more about the Enrollify Podcast Network at podcasts.enrollify.org. Our shows help higher ed marketers and admissions professionals find their next big idea. Find yours at podcasts.enrollify.org.
I totally agree. And, the old adage, right? Leadership is hard. Yes,
Yep.
it is. I mean, I don't know any single person in a position of leadership anywhere, right, that says this is easy.
Mm-mm.
Because it involves other humans, right? And
Yeah.
other humans are all different. What do you think are key traits that make you an effective leader then in 2022?
I never think I'm perfect. I never think I'm there. I am always looking for better ways to engage my team, better ways to do what I'm doing. Learning. I am constantly learning. I'm in a doctorate program right now that really pushes me to think differently and to gain new perspectives. So it's just sort of that hunger and knowing you've never got it. Leadership is something that you have to take into action. It's not a position. Just because I'm labeled Assistant Vice President of Enrollment and Marketing does not make me an effective or good leader. It doesn't even really make me a leader. I really think leadership is a practice and not a position.
I would argue, and tell me if you disagree, you are able to show vulnerability as a leader that a lot of leaders, for whatever reason, aren't comfortable in doing. Has that always been easy for you in terms of saying, for example, nope, I'm not right? Nope, you know what? We should have done this instead. Like, but that's hard for a lot of
Yeah.
people, Alice. And so, like, being vulnerable, easy for you, never really had to work at it, or no, that's something I've had to work at and I'm still working at.
No, I am horrible at it. I have to work at it so hard. It's something, it's like going to the gym every day. It's a muscle that you have to train. You do have to have that vulnerability. I hate to be wrong. I hate to say I made a mistake and I was wrong, but you have to be able to admit mistakes and show that. And as a leader, I think you have to be able to own any mistake that's made on your team whether you were involved in it or not, you are involved because you are the leader. So you have to be able to take that flack, if there's any, on behalf of your team. And you're the one out there in a visible way. It says, no, we got this wrong, and I'm sorry, and here's how we're going to fix it in the future. So, no, does it come naturally to anybody to be? I want to
Well,
meet that person.
yeah, and I
Who's
think
good at saying I was wrong?
Well, and I'm not even saying you're right. That's hard for a lot of people, but I think back to vulnerability, right? I would argue I'm a very emotional person. I have no problem admitting that. I talk about
Yeah.
that all the time with people. I think when you are, you know, whatever that would be, more emotional than
Yeah.
average, right? I think maybe it does become easier. But to your point, I keep going back to mindset and this idea of when you're always trying to be your best self or trying to realize, wait, I don't know everything, whether I have a VP title or an admissions counselor title, but I want to learn more. I want to figure out what I'm doing well. I want to figure out where those opportunities are. You have a completely different mindset that I think opens you up to constructive criticism or whatever you want to call it. And that can be hard. But like I talk about it all the time. Like, Allison, I'm sure you've got your people. I have my people who call me on my crap all the time. Like, that's a circle for me. Like, I have
Yeah.
three or four people. My beautiful wife is one of them who, when
Yeah.
I need to be called on my crap, call me on my crap.
Doesn't mean you like to be called out on your crap, though, right? No,
No,
it's not.
absolutely not.
No. I hate that feeling. You know that feeling in the pit of stomach that you get because you know you're wrong and you know something's off and it doesn't fit right. I hate getting that feeling, but you have to I think as a leader you have to just move on with it. Like carry it with you because you have to have that moment. I agree with you. I don't find it easy to be emotional. I'm actually pretty stoic. I don't know if it's the New Englander in me, like that hardy New Englander kind of thing, but I find it hard to be emotional. So I I have to work at it because I know it's important because it does help me tap into that vulnerability, and that makes you more relatable, and that makes you able to engage with people more. And I think it's hard to reach any audience you're trying to reach if you're not vulnerable, because you have to be vulnerable to be able to say, I don't know the best. My audience knows the best.
As a leader, right, I would argue your audience is the people you
Yes.
manage. And
Hmm.
to that point, right, I see so many people, Allison, when I talk with them one on one at the senior level saying, Jeremy, why do I want to open up like that and be like all warm and fuzzy with my staff? And I'm like, because that's how you get people to trust you, believe in you. All of these other things that I would argue as a
Yeah.
leader are super important for anyone listening. Give me some thoughts, just because I know this is something I get asked a lot, and I know you've dealt with it as a leader. When you have somebody that you manage come in and they bring ideas to the table and they're all excited, right? And you have to shut it down, and all right, either A, it's just not a good idea, and you have to explain to said person why it's not a good idea, or B, it's actually a great idea, but like it doesn't fit somehow in the strategic plan, the short term, whatever. Like, how do you navigate that conversation as a leader to where that staff member doesn't walk away feeling defeated, dumb, whatever the appropriate word is, and they don't want to keep bringing you other new ideas in future?
Hmm. Well, I hope I don't make my staff feel this way, but I try really hard, definitely not to. I think the main thing is that everyone's on the same page about the higher strategy in our approach. So I don't get a lot of ideas that are completely off the mark because everyone has this understanding of what we're trying to do here. So I think that's really the core piece. But if someone's coming to me with an idea, and maybe I think it's bad, but maybe it's not bad, I kind of am of the mind of let them try to run with it, because how do I know? I don't necessarily know best. Um, I might not be the audience, so it might be my perceptions and my experience and my opinions there, but maybe to the audience it's the exact right thing. So I'm of the mind to let someone have some leeway and let them test something out before I say no, unless I have data that says, nope, this is just not the right thing. We've tried it before. And then that's the answer, right? You have the numbers to show. But if I don't have data, let's get some data and find out what the answer is here.
Why is higher ed struggling right now with so much staff retention?
I don't think people leave just because of low pay or just because of benefits or something like that. I think people leave jobs when they're not feeling fulfilled. And we really need to start looking at the employee experience in higher ed, because we ask our employees to pour themselves into our students. And we as leaders need to pour ourselves into our employees or the people that we're leading as well in exchange of that, right? Because how can you have an amazing student experience if you're not having an amazing employee experience? So I think it might be different for each employee. So I don't think that there's any silver bullet here in higher education. I just think that we might not be attending to the relationship and attending to the professional growth, and attending to making sure people feel fulfilled in their roles and feel valued in the way that we should.
Yeah. Again, I keep going back to intentionality for whatever reason as I'm listening to you talk through a lot of this. And I just don't see enough admissions counselors being intentional with the questions they ask, for example, prospective students, leaders being intentional with their staff. Like, any of you listening who are in a position of leadership, right? When you're having those one on one meetings with your staff, it's not just about saying, hey, Allison, how's it going? Good. Hey, Allison, how'd that project go last week? It went well. You need to get context and be more intentional with your staff too, because sometimes you're just going to have staff who, for whatever reason, no matter how good a leader you are just afraid to bring things up or scared to say something where they're like, Allison's going to be mad at me if I say that. And I always tell staff members, like, that's your red flag if you're getting 1 and 2 word answers. You either A, need to ask better questions, or B, right, if your staff can't answer those questions, right, you need to dig in a little more. But I love that you A/B test stuff, and we've talked about this, over the years. Greatest accomplishment when you've A/B tested that you're willing to share?
No, not using templated emails. Get rid of the template.
And did that surprise you when you did the A/B test, how it came out? Or was it like, I think I knew it was going to come this way, Jeremy, but it really just reiterated what I maybe at the time either didn't want to believe, didn't think was as big a deal? Like, you tell me.
I knew it would come out that way, but it's hard to let go of, you know what? It goes back to what you were talking about earlier about the professionalism. It makes it feel, when you have a little branded template in there, it makes it feel a little professional. Also makes you feel good about how you're portraying or branding the college. But this is not a branding moment. This is a relationship moment. So it's really going back to what the big project I'm working on this year. It's really that switch from institutionally driven decision making to student decision making.
Yeah. How do you deal with failure?
Not well.
We've established that. I don't
I
like to
know.
lose. I don't like to lose either. Like I'm with you there. You know me well enough to know that, and
Yeah.
I know that about you. But I know everybody, right, has things because we all fail. Like
Yeah.
there are things I screw up every day, but like what do you do? Just any way, if somebody's listening, going like, I need a better way to deal with these things that aren't working, and maybe don't beat myself up so hard, or just find a better way to move forward. Just what advice would you give them?
One, know that we're all beating ourselves up, so you're not alone, and that we've all been there because we've all done something wrong. We've all made mistakes. So, one, know that you're not alone. And two, find your person. Is it at another college or is it on your team? Who's your person you can go to and talk it through with? I've got a few of those, and they are tremendous for my personal growth and my mental health. And three, how are you going to fix it? Because I don't think you can move on. I think it eats away at you until you start to think about how would I do it differently next time.
I find myself telling a lot of people, leaders, again, brand new admissions counselors. I said this well, 2 weeks ago now at a training workshop I did where a person was in like their second week. You got to play out scenarios in your head
Yep,
to me, right? Especially stuff that you know is going to happen.
yep,
Like if you're listening to this right now, whether you're a leader or you're an admissions counselor, you're going to be, if you're not already in the middle of, right, fall travel and going to high school visits, college fairs, all of that. You know what the common scenarios are. You know you're going to have some high school visits where zero people show up. You know you're going to have some where a huge amount of people show up, or you have like 12 people waiting in line to talk to you and you're the only person at that college fair. Like, what are you going to do? And to your point, I don't think enough of us think those things through sometimes. And so then when it doesn't go the way we want, we're sitting back here beating up
yep,
ourselves, going, well, what could we have done differently? And I think, again, it's all right, well, how are you going to approach that situation next time, knowing there will be a next time, right? Any of you listening know, like, there are just common things you're going to deal with year in and year out, no matter how long you are in higher ed. So, what what else basically right now in your job are you just trying to either, if you're an A, you want to be an A plus at it. If you're a B, you want to be an A. Like, I don't care how small it is, but I've always admired how much I think you are open to tweaking things personally and professionally. Like, what are you trying to tweak right now if you're willing to share?
well, we're trying to tweak our entire marketing strategy right now, so that's a big thing to take a bite out of, right?
But what about
I
you
think
personally?
me personally, my thing is better balancing. I really need to be better at turning off work when I enter my home because I carry it with me my whole drive home. I'm churning out ideas, I'm doing this, and then I get home and I need to get it out. And I need to turn that off and just be present with my family. And that's really my struggle. These blurred lines between family and work and all through my life. And ideas come to me at all times, snap like this, and I don't know why it happens that way, but I feel like I need to do a better job of just balancing that out and not letting things from work consume me when I should be spending time with my family.
It's hard. I mean,
It's really
yeah.
hard.
As someone who
Yeah, it's
just,
not.
yeah,
Yeah. I feel I need to let it go that it's not the end of the world. It's not life or death here. And it's not at that level that I should walk away from my family right now and not be present with them.
yeah. Well, back to, what I asked you earlier, which is, what motivates you when you get up every day, right? Like, I've found myself, and I've worked with you and your colleagues enough. You know how I start, a lot of these trainings that I do with staffs. And, I've changed it up even since the last time I saw you. And now I've really gotten into this idea of like, we all don't define our why enough. Like, why do we do what we do? Right? And I think a lot of people struggle with balance when they don't have their why defined, right? And so they're trying to figure out, when I do have frustrating times, when I do feel like I can't separate work from home, like, and my why's changed. I tell people all the time, like, of course my why includes my family, right? It includes some other things
Yeah.
too, but just I just think for anybody listening, if you literally don't have a defined why, like if somebody came up, if Allison and I met you and we said, hey, what's your why? Like, how are you going to answer that, right? And I find a lot of people don't have a, actual substantive answer to that question.
Well, in higher ed, you need one, right? I feel like you have to believe in what you're doing here. I believe in higher ed. I believe that it can be a difference maker in our country and in the world. I believe in Siena specifically. I believe in our students. I believe in our faculty, and I'm a true believer in all of that. I think higher ed at times is misguided, but has the potential to be so powerful in changing people's lives. And that's my why. And I think for this kind of industry, it's not surface stuff. This is deep stuff. This is emotional stuff. You got to find your why and your reason. And if you're not feeling connected in that way, then maybe it's not the right fit for you, and that's okay. Go where you're going to feel fulfilled. But I hope that there's also more people out there who haven't yet discovered this amazing industry, because there's so much to love about working in higher ed, students being the top of my list, but maybe there's people who aren't here yet and they might love it. So come try it.
Yeah. Well, and making a difference, I mean, yeah, it's 100% part of my why, as you well know. And I think you said a lot of very powerful, impactful stuff there. So I really hope the audience, tries to unpack that for themselves. What are a couple of things that you're willing to share, tips, tricks, specific to either email, texting, social media, again, that just stuff that people, if they wanted to change tomorrow and they can get past this idea of, okay, it's not going to make me less professional, it's going to be more student centered. Like, what are some quick email, text, social media tips, tricks that you're willing to share?
So super short emails. That's my I don't know how else to say. I think we overthink and we want to say too much in a single message. I promise you, you only need a sentence or two to get through what you want to say, and it's probably going to resonate the simpler you keep it and the more clear you keep your text. So that's my number one tip for copywriting, which sounds like a big want, I'm sure, if you're on the receiving end, but it's really hard to peel back and cut out what your copywriting is. So that's my big tip on emails. Cut the cut your copy. Make it short and sweet. Don't feel the need to add in all the extra. When you're in person with a student, that's when you start talking to them about what matters to them, and then you fill in all the stuff about your college, about the things that are specific to them. You don't need to say all the things in one email, and you definitely can't say all the things in one text message, right? So don't even bother with that. On text message, my number one tip with text is make sure they know it's a real person that they can text back, and that you're not just some bot shooting out reminders and messages to them. Tell them it's a real person. They answer you when you do. Ask a question and tell them a real person will answer you, and you'll be surprised at the amount of engagement you'll get. On the social media side, I can't take any credit for this. This is totally my team. They are posting video and reels to the actual news feed, and they're killing it. The data is off the charts. So you don't need to save the reels just in the one pocket for reels. They post it to the feed and they get a good traction there. Lots of
What kind of
engagement.
content are they posting on Reels that's really resonating?
They did some stuff. I mean, we've just had orientation week, so they had lots of great student-centered stuff. One of the things they did that made me laugh was they started to ask our student body who's the saint with the most school spirit. So that was a really fun one. But it's really been student voice type of stuff, and that's something that we're testing for TV spot this fall. Actually, is an entirely student voice driven commercial. We did not write a script. We did not storyboard anything. We took actual footage and interviews of students talking about Sienna, that they were talking about Sienna for completely different reasons. They never thought that this would end up in a commercial. They were maybe just doing an interview that was for the commencement video, or they were doing an interview for a specific program that was being highlighted for something. And then the footage is all stuff that's captured real. We don't set anything up. It's just what Dave, my awesome videographer, goes out and he just captures actual moments happening. And so we've combined those two things, and that's what we're going to test. So I guess the big moral of the story is that authenticity piece, right? I think the more stuff you're chucking into an email, it makes it seem fake, makes it seem too scripted. So short and sweet. Text message, make them know it's a real person, that's authentic, and then test in your content, again, authenticity, real students, their voices, the way they talk.
I don't think, and this is a perfect example, so I really hope somebody takes that last point you just made around just utilizing your current students more. They're your number one asset. Any of you listening, I don't care if you work with traditional or non-traditional students, transfer, grad, like whatever it is, you need to every single year, not once a year, like ongoing, back to the stuff Allison's been talking about this entire episode, constantly be trying to think, what can we do differently or better, right? But it's based off, again, feedback straight from our target audience.
And on what you're producing. So not just what is in the content you're using, but we are now, when we produce a video, when we write an email, when we write a text message, we're now showing it to students. Tell us what you think of this. So the students should be part of your feedback loop too, not just the content generation. They should be in on that feedback loop. And just get out there and go get them. My team was out there hustling at the club fair with all the students on Friday. They had a table. We gave out some stickers. We gave out these posters about Sienna, easy things that did not cost a lot of money that attracted them to our table. Then they would take their phone out, do the QR code, and sign up to work with our office. We gave them different ways. They could be on camera. They can do videos, do photos from behind the scenes. They can intern with us. They can be one of our students that we bounce ideas off of. So give students many avenues to get involved with you, and then get out there. You have to be among the students if you want to use the students in your marketing.
It is so much fun to talk with you and just catch up in 45 minutes, which, believe it or not, is how long we've been talking already. Goes by so fast.
It's kind of like when you call me from the road and we were supposed to have a 5 minute chat and we talked for like an hour, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, I encourage all of you, right? And Allison said this earlier, right? Have your people. I mean, I bounce stuff off Allison all the time because I value her opinion and believe that, she can help me do things in my day-to-day better. And, it's finding those people, right, for each one of us. I've been ending every episode, Allison, with two things, right? The first is a signature question that I've been asking everybody. So I just want your answer to, what is one important piece of advice somebody's given you at some point in your life that's really stuck?
There's so many. I feel like I get advice all the time because I'm one of those people that just soaks it
The
up.
first one that came to mind.
The first one that came to mind is that it's okay to make a mistake, but I think that might have come to mind because we talked a lot about that today. But that it's okay to mistake, and that when you make a mistake, you actually should shout it from the rooftops. It's not something that you should keep quiet, especially among your team. It's something you should tell everybody because then they won't make that mistake and they will help you to be better. So shout the mistakes from the rooftops and own them.
Last thing, some fun rapid fire. I'm just going to give you a handful of things and I just want whatever pops into your brain right away. Okay?
Oh, okay.
Biggest guilty pleasure.
Bravo TV.
Biggest guilty pleasure TV show on Bravo TV.
Any Real Housewives that exists.
Favorite outdoor activity you love to do in the winter in New York?
Ski.
Jeopardy or The Price is Right?
Price is Right.
Better pickleball player, you or your husband?
Oh, my husband. I hate to admit that though. Dang it.
And how many games are the New York Football Giants, knowing they won one last night? How many are they going to win this year?
Oh God, I hope more than one. I'm just so happy for the one. I don't even want to think about it. Can't I just bask in the glory for 1 week, Jeremy, without thinking about next week? I'm hoping for five at least. Oh, but
Well,
last night was quite a nail biter. I had to close my eyes when they went for the extra two.
Well, listen, I thought I was going to be more stressed watching the Minnesota Vikings yesterday, and they showed up and did quite well. So I'm hoping it's a
They
lot
blowed
more
them
than one
out.
this
Yeah.
year too.
My
I
dad's a Vikings fan, you know.
I did not know that.
Couple people eaters.
I did not know that. I love it. Well, thank you for being on today and sharing so much. If people want to follow you, connect with you on social, email, like what are you comfortable sharing? What's the best way to get a hold of you?
All of the things, any way you can find me, let's connect. I just wanted to say, we're talking about find your people. Jeremy and I will be your people. I will be one of your people. So yes, please connect with me on Twitter. Allison Tercio is just my name on Twitter. My email address is atercio@siena.edu. One N, not two. It's not the color Siena. It's the city in Italy. And any other way, LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn. Please find me there. I'd be thrilled to connect with you. I love to make higher ed buddies. So please let me be one of your people.
So good to chat with you. I look forward to the
You
next
too.
time. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
Hey, all, Zach here from Enrollify. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Mission Admissions with Jeremy Tiers. If you like this episode, do us a huge favor and hit that follow and subscribe button below. Furthermore, if you've got just 2 minutes to spare, we would greatly appreciate you leaving a rating and a review of this show on Apple Podcasts. Our podcast network is growing by the month, and we've got a plethora of marketing, admissions, and higher ed technology shows that are jam-packed with stories, ideas, and frameworks that are all designed to empower you to become a better higher ed professional. But Enrollify is far more than just a podcast network. Enrollify is where higher ed comes to learn new marketing skills, discover new products and services, and find their next job. We're a growing learning community of 4,000 members, and we'd love to welcome you into the fold. You can access our free blog articles, newsletters, e-courses, and more, or purchase our master course on how to market a university with Terry Flannery at enrollify.org. We look forward to meeting you soon and welcoming you into the community. Again, you can subscribe for free at enrollify.org.